Can an energy company grow production and reward shareholders at the same time? Hello, I'm Ricki Lee, and this is The Capital Compass. Today, we're taking a closer look at Alvopetro Energy, a company executing a balanced capital allocation strategy that combines disciplined organic growth with meaningful shareholder returns. Operating in both Brazil and Canada, Alvopetro is building on the strength of its natural gas assets while continuing to invest in strategic infrastructure. At the same time, the company is returning capital to shareholders through a growing dividend, backed by strong cash flow and a healthy balance sheet. Joining me to discuss the latest quarterly results, the company's growth strategy, and what investors should be watching next is Corey Ruttan, President and CEO of Alvopetro Energy. Corey, welcome back to the Capital Compass.
Well, thank you for having me on, Ricki. It's a great time to be telling the Alvopetro story.
Well, we're glad that you're here to tell it to us. But let's start with the bigger picture, shall we? Alvopetro has adopted a balanced capital allocation model with roughly half of cash flow reinvested into growth and the other half returned to shareholders. So why is that the right strategy for the company at this stage, Corey?
Yeah, this is actually a model that we developed even long before we came on production and cash flow from our key project in Brazil. And it really goes back to our long-standing belief that energy companies had historically overinvested and under-delivered real returns to shareholders or stakeholders. And we always felt that you needed to have a more disciplined and accountable approach. We benefit from our Caburé and Murucututu natural gas fields in Brazil generate some very strong and predictable cash flows, and we have industry-leading margins. So that really gives us the financial flexibility to invest in high return growth opportunities while also returning meaningful cash flows to our shareholders. And our business has really been thriving under this model, and I think it demonstrates the quality of our assets.
And your first quarter results highlighted continued operational performance, while recent updates have shown steady production and sales volumes. What were the key takeaways from the quarter, and what gives you confidence in the business today?
Yeah, going back even further, we had a really great year last year. Year over year, we grew production 41%. We increased reserves 43%, all while returning half of our cash flows to shareholders. So we're off to another great start this year. First quarter production was up another 25%, and we generated funds flow from operations of $12.5 million US off of $17.4 million of revenue. So that ratio really highlights the high margin nature of our production and the quality of our assets. Our Brazilian operations are underpinned by long-term take-or-pay contracts, and that creates a lot of revenue predictability for us. Our realized natural gas price in the first quarter was over $10 US per MCF, and we had an operating netback margin of 84%.
And you mentioned earlier a major part of your growth strategy is building on the Caburé and Murucututu natural gas fields and the associated midstream infrastructure. How do those assets position Alvopetro for long-term capital-efficient growth?
Yeah, really, Caburé and Murucututu are the heart of our business. Caburé was our initial producing asset, and that really helped us establish our onshore natural gas business model in Brazil. It allowed us to sign a long-term contract with the local distribution company in the state of Bahia in northeast Brazil under some pretty attractive terms. It also allowed us to invest in some highly strategic midstream infrastructure, and I think it's quite unique, especially for a company our size, that we control this portion of our business 100%. This strategic midstream asset and the infrastructure assets that we have also allows us to very quickly convert natural gas successes into production and cash flow. And then lastly, it really positioned us to unlock the potential that we have at Murucututu, which is really our main growth engine going forward. And this is a large multi-zone resource where we've got a very attractive inventory of future development locations. So Murucututu is a 100% Alvopetro-owned project. And the nice thing is, as we bring new production on from this project, we can do it on a very low incremental cost basis because we've already got a lot of this infrastructure in place.
And you've also recently announced another quarterly dividend. How important is maintaining a sustainable and growing shareholder return? And how do you balance that alongside ongoing investment opportunities in both Brazil and Canada?
Yeah, so balancing organic growth and shareholder returns really is central to how we think about our business. Since we started production from our Caburé project, we very quickly repaid all the original project financing debt. And then since we started the dividend in the third quarter of 2021, we've already returned $75 million US to shareholders, or over $2 per share back to our investors. We're very proud that we've been able to do all this while also delivering strong growth in Brazil. And we've now also added an attractive inventory of heavy oil drilling opportunities in Western Canada. I would say the key to the sustainability of this model is really the quality of our assets, our clean balance sheet, and the strength of the underlying cash flows. So, fundamentally, we're always looking at ways to manage our capital allocation across all of our opportunities, be it organic growth in Brazil, our Canadian assets, returns to shareholders. And we certainly believe that we should be rewarding our shareholders for being long-term investors. And I think our dividend is a real tangible and recurring expression of that commitment back to our shareholders.
And so just finally, Corey, looking ahead over the next 12 months, what are the key milestones investors should be watching as Alvopetro continues to execute on both its growth strategy and its commitment to shareholder returns?
Yeah, there's probably a few things I'd like to highlight. First of all, we've had, very high levels of success on our Murucututu project. So as a result of that, we're actually increasing that field's takeaway capacity by fourfold this year. So really watch for that build out as the year progresses. Secondly, we just started the completion of our latest Murucututu well that we drilled, and we're just starting drilling the next well in that program. So I would certainly watch out for those results. And then lastly, as we noted earlier, we've had some pretty strong production growth as we've started 2026, but we're also forecasting even higher realized natural gas prices. So certainly I'd watch out for the release of those financial results as the year progresses. And I'd say overall, 2026 is really setting up to be another fantastic year for Alvopetro. But our capital program this year, I think, will also set us up for another string of successful years in 2027 and beyond.
Well, Corey, thank you for joining us today and giving us the time to walk us through the Alvopetro Energy story.
All right. Thank you very much.
For more information, you can visit alvopetro.com. I'm Ricki Lee, and this has been The Capital Compass. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you again next time.